The crunch of tire treads chewing up my front lawn, yeah. That sound is burned into my memory now. 47 times. I counted. 47. If you're thinking, no way, that's not possible, I get it. I wouldn't have believed it myself if I hadn't stood at the window, mug of cold coffee in hand, watching the Queen of Suburbia, herself Marlena steer her shiny white BMW straight over my grass like it was just some decorative doormat. It's kind of funny, right? Or maybe tragic. Depends how much you love your lawn. First time it happened, I tried the polite approach. Hey, Marlene, could you not park on my lawn? She barely blinked, just waved that clipboard her royal scepter at me and said, "This is HOA business, Eugene. Your grass will grow back. Don't be so dramatic." Which, is the kind of thing people say right before they do it again. And again. By the 10th time, it stopped feeling like an accident. By the 47th, I started to think she wanted me to lose it. Maybe she thought I'd crack, scream, toss a gnome through her windshield or something. But what Marlene didn't know, this old engineer was building a different kind of trap. Something she'd never see coming. Ever heard of expanding foam? Yeah, $5 at the hardware store. That's all it takes to change a kingdom. You ever dealt with an HOA? Ever had a neighbor who just decided your stuff was theirs? Or maybe you were that neighbor. Hey, no judgment, but if you're wearing heels right now, maybe don't park on your neighbor's petunias. Anyway, I'm not a troublemaker. Never have been. I'm 63. Retired, more or less. Used to be a mechanical engineer, built assembly lines, solved problems. That's kind of what kept me sane after they pushed me out early. Downsizing, you know how it goes. These days, I do odd handyman jobs, fix whatever folks bring by, and spend a lot of time in my garage workshop. My wife Sandra likes to joke that I can repair anything but her urge to water the houseplants into a swamp. But the thing I'm proudest of what kept me feeling steady, even when Sandra's memory started slipingies my lawn. That might sound stupid to some people. It's just grass. Yeah, well, for me it's never been just grass. Saturday mornings, I'd be out there with my old Craftsman, mowing these perfect diagonal lines. You could cut paper on those edges. My tools, yeah, I name them hang on pegboard, all measured and spaced just right. That's the one spot on earth where nothing goes wrong, at least until Marlene shows up. Let me tell you about Marlene. HOA president. Walks around like she owns the oxygen. Never worked a real job in her life, but somehow knows exactly how everyone else should live. Her family's old steel money bought her the house, the car, the wardrobe, the philanthropy. But what it really bought her was the idea that inconvenience is beneath her. The community center's right behind my lot. There's a nice, big, completely adequate parking lot, 43 spaces, never full. But Marlene, she figures, why walk the extra 50 yards when you can cut across someone else's grass and park 15 feet from the door? All because, as she once told me, high heels and gravel don't mix. Sure, Marlene. First time I saw those tire tracks in my lawn, I just stood there, hands in my pockets, not even angry yet more like baffled. Muddy ruts all the way through, right where the grass was thickest. I waited for her, tried a neighborly tone. She didn't even stop scrolling her phone. It'll grow back. Just like that. It's amazing, the things people feel entitled to when nobody stops them. That night, I found myself in the garage at midnight just standing there. Sandra came out, put a hand on my shoulder. "You okay?" I told her I'd figure it out. I always do. Next Sunday, I built a little rope barrier. Not ugly, not angry, just those green garden posts and some white rope, the kind you see at a golf club. Line up perfect. Next Thursday, I'm calibrating my micrometer and hear that familiar snap rope popping, posts tumbling, her car bulldozing through without even slowing down. Here's something I learned right then. Fixing people is nothing like fixing machines. If a part breaks, you swap it out. If a neighbor breaks, well, there's no manual for that. Next morning, official letter in the mailbox. HOA logo at the top. "Dear Mr. Fletcher, your unsightly barrier must be removed within 72 hours. Daily fines apply." Signed, of course, by Marlene. My rope wasn't even near the street. And by the rules, decorative fencing under 3 feet didn't need approval. But see, this wasn't about rules. It was about power. So I did what engineers do. I started documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, soil moisture, tire rut depth. Yeah, I know how that sounds, but I'd rather be the guy with too much evidence than the one who's got none. Sandra, she brought me coffee while I typed up notes. She said, "My dad always said the best way to deal with a bully is to become something they can't control." I said. Did he ever figure out what that meant? She laughed. Nope, but you will. Monday, I get hit with a fine anyway. Non-compliance, apparently. I'd taken the rope down 6 hours after getting the notice, but Marlene snapped a photo at 8 a.m. on Sunday. That made me 44 hours late. Paid it made a copy of the check, added it to the file. If she wanted to play lawyer, I'd play engineer. Then the twist. While replacing sprinkler heads her BMW had flattened, I noticed the pattern, same track every time. Same angle, same stop to check her makeup in the mirror. Predictability is a gift in my line of work. So I got out my tape and measured. From the street, 43 steps to the parking spot. Step 37, a soft patch where a tire always paused. I didn't set up another barrier. Instead, I made signs, private property, no vehicle access. Violators will be towed. Yellow, aluminum, bold black letters. Called the non-emergency line, check the wording. Everything by the book. Posted them right on her track. Next day, I'll give you 3 guesses what happened. Crunch, crash, 2 signs bent, 1 post snapped, yellow metal littering my grass. This time, she brought backup 3 catering trucks. You ever see a 20-year-old sprinkler system crushed by a box truck? Smells like diesel and broken dreams. Friday, another envelope. Violation notice for hostile signage and an invoice for $800 damage to the community center's landscaping caused by your improper signage. You can't make this stuff up. She was billing me for the damage her trucks did to my property and the community center with a straight face. So I did what you do when the data's off. I dug deeper. Called my neighbor Tom, retired insurance adjuster. He'd watched the whole circus from his kitchen. Turns out, the sprinkler heads she claimed I broke, they'd been leaking for months. Been watching water pool there every morning, Tom told me. By then, my workshop was a crime lab. Invoices, photos, a spreadsheet that would make NASA proud. Sandra comes in. Honey, what did you do at work when someone kept sabotaging the line? Document it, design around the saboteur, wait until they make a mistake big enough to get fired. Think Marlene's going to make a mistake? Sandra asked. I just smiled. The next week, I made some calls insurance company, county clerk for all HOA rules, and just for fun, Danny, my neighbor's son, who's a journalism major looking for a big story. You interested in HOA drama? I ask. He laughs. Is there any other kind? Then Marlene files a counterclaim on my insurance, says my improper signage forced her to swerve to avoid an elderly pedestrian who doesn't exist, and that's why she damaged my property. But her times are off, says she swerved at 2:15, but my photos show the trucks were already there at 2:10. Never underestimate an engineer with a camera. She kept pushing. Next, a letter taped to my door. Due to overwhelming community response, your front lawn has been designated as overflow parking for the charity gala. She quoted some emergency provision in the HOA book. I checked, it was about snow plows, not parties. Event day. Tents everywhere. Fancy cars parked all over my ruined Lamy side yard. The strip by the fence, everywhere. 53 guests. The newspaper took photos. Marlene posing my destroyed grass in the background. Community comes together for literacy, the headline said. I watched from my workshop, gripping my old wrench like it was a lifeline. Afterwards, the insurance adjuster came. She was sharp tape measure, camera, didn't miss a thing. This is going to be expensive, she said, eyeing the ruts. $8,200, the estimate said. Insurance covered 6, left me on the hook for $2,200, which I didn't have. But here's the thing about digging, sometimes you hit gold. Danny, the journalism student, shows up with a stack of papers. You need to see this, he says. Turns out, Marlene's been filing tax exemptions on every charity event, claiming repairs as community expensestible dipping with insurance and taxes. For 3 years. And the money? It all goes through an LLC then to her cousin's landscaping company in Tennessee, who, by the way, has never done a day's work here. Suddenly, this isn't a neighbor dispute. It's fraud. Federal fraud. Tax fraud. Insurance fraud. I sat there, thinking how all those acts are crushing my grass. Me documenting every one wasn't just an annoyance. It was a paper trail. We made copies, called the insurance again, and finally I dialed the FBI. You ever watch those shows where the wall is covered in photos, timelines, yarn connecting dots? My garage became that. Except my red string was neat rows of evidence, every document labeled and dated. And the foam canister? Yeah, that was just a cherry on top. I figured, why not set a little engineering trap? I measured exactly where her tire always landed, buried a can of expanding foam under the sod. When she rolled over it, the pressure would pop the can. Foam would shoot up, expand, and glue her tire in place. Not damaging, just humbling. Expensive to fix. And, best of all, 100% caught on Tom's security cameras, which we'd repositioned for maximum drama. But the real trap was legal. The feds and IRS have been sniffing around these HOA frauds for months. Danny's research added fuel to their fire. I got a call the night before the big gala. We'll be there. Don't let her intimidate you. Marlene, meanwhile, had gotten wind of something. Sent me a cease and desist letter through a fancy law firm, accusing me of criminal surveillance. I read it and laughed. When people threaten you for taking pictures on your own property, you know you've got them scared. HOA tried to hold a vote to expel me for endangering community trust. But my neighbors, turns out, I wasn't the only one fed up, stewed up, told their own stories. And in the back row, 2 concerned citizens, feds in plain clothes, took notes on everything. Day of the next charity gala. Marlene tried to get ahead of the storyline up Channel 7 News. Professional photographers made the whole thing into a PR circus. Look at our community spirit. Her assistant even asked if I'd be willing to go on camera and say I supported the event. You should have seen her face when I said, let's see how the evening goes. 5:47 p.m., like clockwork, Marlene pulls up, parks in her usual spot, front tire right over my trap. She steps out, heels, suit, hair perfect. Then that hiss and pop. Bright yellow foam erupts, swallowing her tire, hardening by the second. Cameras everywhere. Channel 7's crew filming the whole mess as Marlene tries to tug her car free. Mud on her heels, eyes wild. I walked out, every eye on me. 1 can of expanding foam, I said, loud enough for the microphones. 47 times you drove on my lawn. Now, you're not going anywhere until you pay for every dollar of damage. She went pale. Guests stared. Channel 7's reporter whispered into her mic, we are witnessing an extraordinary scene. Tow truck came hours later, after the feds had finished with their questions. Maria Santos, the federal prosecutor who'd been interested in community service, walked up, handed Marlene a warrant. IRS guy, serve an audit notice. By Sunday, all Marlene's records were in federal custody. HOA suspended her pending investigation. And my lawn? Restored, better than ever, paid for by restitution and insurance, eager to look good for the feds. They found $127,000 in fraud, spread across 4 neighborhoods. Marlene lost her car, her jewelry, even her grandmother's Florida condo. Pled guilty. Community service, real community service landscaping for people who couldn't afford it. Me? I ended up treasurer of the new HOA. Started a neighborhood tool library in my garage. Helped kids build birdhouses on Saturdays. Sandra's health got better, thanks to the settlement covering her care. Danny's story won a journalism prize and helped change state law. The foam canister sits in my workshop, a weird little trophy. Every time someone asks, I just say, never underestimate an engineer with a grudge and a $5 budget. Sometimes, the little actions make the biggest waves. I learned that when you mix patience with precision, even a queen bee can get herself stuck. Now, I look out my window, see kids playing on grass that survived a war, and smile. Let me ask you, if you'd been in my shoes, what would you have done? Ever been steamrolled by someone with too much power and too little conscience? Drop your story below. I'm betting I'm not the only one who's ever had to get creative to make things right. And if you've ever outsmarted a neighborhood tyrant, well, I hope your revenge was just as satisfying as mine.